Jinho stepped off the transport shuttle at Kepler Station Academy, his black hair still messy from the long journey through space. The massive station floated in the darkness between 3 different star systems, its metal walls gleaming under the light of distant suns. He carried only a small bag with his clothes and a photo of his family back on Earth. His heart was beating fast with excitement and nervousness. The hallways were unlike anything he had ever seen. Strange creatures moved through the corridors like they owned the place. Some looked like walking crystals that made beautiful ringing sounds when they walked. Others floated in the air like jellyfish. Their bodies glowed with pretty colors that changed as they moved. Small mouse-like beings with huge heads scurried between the larger students, carrying books twice their size. "Welcome, human Jinho," said a voice behind him. He turned around to see Administrator Veltar, a tall creature with purple skin and 4 eyes that blinked one after another like Christmas lights. Her mouth was full of tiny, sharp teeth, but her voice was kind. "Your dormitory assignment includes atmospheric controls calibrated for your unique requirements." Jinho nodded politely and smiled, showing his white teeth. Several small aliens nearby saw his smile and quickly ran away, their tiny feet making clicking sounds on the metal floor. He did not understand why they looked so scared. On Earth, smiling was friendly. Maybe aliens had different rules about smiling. "Thank you," Jinho said. "I am very happy to be here. This is a big honor for Earth." Veltar's 4 eyes blinked again. "Yes, well, we have prepared special safety protocols for your stay. Your species is quite robust." Jinho did not know what she meant by robust, but it sounded like a compliment. He followed her through the winding hallways, looking at everything with wide eyes. The walls were covered with writing in languages he could not read. Some looked like musical notes, others like tiny drawings of stars and planets. They passed a group of the crystal beings having what looked like a conversation, but instead of talking, they were making different musical tones at each other. It was beautiful, like a song made of glass and wind chimes. When they saw Jinho walking by, their music became higher and faster, almost like they were nervous. "Those are the Valkyrie," Veltar explained. "They communicate through harmonic frequencies. They find your species quite intense." "Intense?" Jinho asked. "I had not done anything yet." "Your very presence is intense to most species here," she said carefully. "Earth is classified as a Class 12 death world. Most inhabited planets are Class 1 or 2. Jinho had heard the term death world before, but he never really thought about what it meant to other species. To him, Earth was just home. Sure, there were dangerous animals and bad weather sometimes, but humans had been living there for thousands of years. It was normal. They reached the registration area, where students were signing up for classes. Jinho looked at the list of subjects on a glowing screen. Mathematics looked the same in any language. Science would be interesting to learn about other worlds. But when he saw physical education, his face lit up with excitement. "Oh, perfect," he said. "I love sports and exercise. This will be easy for me." The moment he touched the screen to register for gym class, warning lights began flashing. The computer made alarming beeping sounds. Veltar's 4 eyes went wide with what looked like panic. "Perhaps you might prefer art class," she suggested quickly. "Or music appreciation?" "No, thank you," Jinho said, still smiling. "Physical education will help me stay healthy and make friends. Sports bring people together, right?" Across the station, in the gymnasium, Coach Brickstow received an emergency notification on his communication device. He was a tall, thin creature with long arms and legs, built for the low gravity of his home world. When he read the message that said Deathworld human enrolled in physical education class, his skin turned pale blue with fear. He immediately called the Academy's medical team. "We need emergency medical equipment ready for tomorrow's gym class," he said in a shaky voice. "And maybe some protective barriers. And sedatives. Lots of sedatives." Back in the registration area, Jinho finished signing up for his classes. He was excited about everything, especially meeting other students his age. On Earth, he was just an ordinary high school student who played soccer and helped his parents in their small restaurant. Here, he would be Earth's first representative to the galaxy. "Your room is on level 7, Veltar said, handing him a small device that would translate languages and open doors. Dinner is served in the main hall at 1800 hours. Please be careful not to, well, just be careful. As Jinho walked his new room, other students stopped their conversations to stare at him. Some hid behind corners to watch him pass. Others quickly moved to the opposite side of the hallway. A few brave ones waved at him from far away, and he waved back enthusiastically. He had no idea that his simple wave, powered by muscles designed to throw spears and climb trees on a high-gravity world, created enough air movement to knock over 3 small students like dominoes. The next morning, Jinho woke up feeling excited about his first gym class. He put on the exercise clothes that Earth had sent with him, simple shorts and a t-shirt that said Seoul High School on the front. He had no idea that these clothes, designed for a world with dangerous weather and rough surfaces, looked like armor to most aliens. He walked into the gymnasium and stopped to look around in wonder. The room was huge, with different sections that seemed to have their own weather. One corner was misty and cool, another was warm and humid, and some areas seemed to have less gravity than others. Students from different worlds were gathering in their preferred zones, staying far apart from each other. Coach Brickstow stood in the center of the gym, his long, thin arms shaking slightly. He was 7 feet tall, but looked like he might blow away in a strong wind. His skin was pale green, and his large eyes kept looking at Jinho with obvious worry. "Good morning, students," Coach Brickstow announced, his voice echoing to the translator devices everyone wore. "Today we begin with our standard warm-up routine. Please remember that exercise should be gentle and safe for all species." Around the gym, 23 students from 12 different worlds began to gather. There was Crixila, whose crystal body sparkled like diamonds in the light. Several floating jellyfish creatures named the drifters bobbed gently in the air, their soft bodies glowing with calm blue colors. The tiny Squeep students, who looked like mice but with huge heads, stayed close to the walls where they felt safer. "We will start with basic movement preparation," the coach explained, demonstrating with his long arms. Slow, stretching, minimal joint rotation, and very light movements only. Jinho nodded and smiled. This sounded easy. Back home, his warm-up routine was much more intense before soccer practice. He decided to start with simple jumping jacks, just like he did every morning at school on Earth. The moment Jinho's feet left the ground, the entire gymnasium fell silent. When he landed, the metal floor made a small booming sound that echoed through the room. He continued jumping, bringing his arms up and down, completely unaware that every alien student was staring at him in complete shock. Crixila's crystal body began vibrating from fear. The harmonic frequency of her terror grew higher and higher, until her outer shell cracked with a loud ringing sound, like a breaking bell. She fell to the ground in pieces, though she was still alive and conscious. "Medical emergency," Coach Brickstow shouted into his communicator. Crystal student down in Gym A. The floating drifters immediately began flashing bright red and orange colors, which was their way of screaming. The lights were so bright and fast that they had to be covered with blankets and given medicine to calm down. Jinho stopped jumping and looked around in confusion. "Is everything okay?" he asked. "Did I do something wrong?" Pip, one of the braver Squeep students, peeked out from behind an exercise mat where she was hiding. Her tiny voice squeaked through the translator. Are you trying to break the floor?" "Break the floor?" Jinho laughed, which made several more students run away. "I am just warming up. This is normal exercise on Earth." "Normal?" Coach Brickstow's voice cracked with disbelief. "You are launching your entire body weight into the air repeatedly." Jinho tried to explain. "Jumping jacks are very basic. We teach them to small children. They help get your heart pumping and your muscles ready for real exercise." The word real exercise made Coach Brickstow sit down heavily on a soft cushion designed for meditation, not physical activity. Around the gym, students were whispering to each other in their various languages, creating a symphony of worry, fear, and amazement. "Perhaps," the coach said carefully, "you could show us some of your gentler movements?" Jinho nodded helpfully. He thought for a moment, then began doing simple arm circles, rotating his arms in big loops to stretch his shoulders. What he did not realize was that his arm muscles, evolved for climbing and throwing on Earth, moved with such controlled power that they created small whirlwinds in the air. 3 drifters were accidentally caught in the air currents and spun around like leaves in a tornado. They had to be rescued by the emergency medical team, who came rushing into the gym with floating stretchers and oxygen masks designed for jellyfish-like creatures. "I am very sorry," Jinho called out, finally understanding that something was wrong. "I was just stretching." Mina, a graceful student from the Yelfani species, who looked like a tall, elegant cat that walked on 2 legs, stepped forward. She was shaking slightly, but her curiosity was stronger than her fear. "Your species," she said slowly. "What kind of world did you evolve on?" Jinho thought about Earth. The storms, the earthquakes, the wild animals, the need to run and climb and fight to survive. But to him, it was just home. "A pretty normal world, I think," he said honestly. "We have mountains and oceans, some dangerous weather sometimes, and animals that are bigger than humans." "Why do you ask?" The silence in the gymnasium was so complete that you could hear the air recycling systems humming in the walls. After the medical team had taken care of the injured students, Coach Brickstow decided they should move on to the actual exercise equipment. He was hoping that maybe the machines would help control how much force Jinho could use. The equipment was the most advanced in the galaxy, designed to be safe for students from many different worlds. "Now we will use the resistance training devices," Coach Brickstow announced, his voice still shaky. "These machines are very sophisticated. They can adjust automatically for each species' strength levels." Jinho walked over to look at the equipment with interest. The machines looked similar to the ones in his school gym back on Earth, but they were made of shiny metal that seemed to glow with its own light. There were screens with pictures showing how to use each machine, and the weights looked like they were made of some kind of energy instead of solid metal. "This is the chest press machine," Coach Brickstow explained, pointing to a device that looked like a chair with 2 handles. "It is currently set to maximum resistance, which should be challenging for most species." Jinho sat down on the machine and grabbed the handles. He pushed them forward gently, expecting to feel some resistance. Instead, the handles moved so easily that he almost pushed them too far and too fast. It felt like pushing through water instead of lifting weights. Excuse me," Jinho said politely. "I think this machine might be broken. There is no resistance at all." Coach Brickstow's eyes went wide. "That machine is set to lift the equivalent of 200 pounds in Earth gravity," he whispered. "Oh," Jinho said, still confused. "Could you maybe turn it up?" "On Earth, I usually bench press about 160 pounds, and that is not even very much of my age." The coach's hands were shaking as he accessed the machine's control panel. He increased the resistance to the absolute maximum the machine could produce. Warning lights began flashing around the equipment, and a computer voice announced in several languages that the machine was operating beyond safe parameters. Jinho tried the exercise again. This time he could feel some resistance, but it still felt too easy. He began doing a normal set of chest presses, counting quietly to himself. 1, 2, 3, 4. With each repetition, the machine's warning sound got louder. Other students gathered around to watch, staying at what they considered a safe distance. Some were recording the event with their communication devices, probably to send to their families as proof that they had seen a real Deathworlder exercising. By the time Jinho reached 20 repetitions, the machine began smoking. Small sparks flew from the control panel, and the energy weights flickered like a broken light bulb. "Stop! Stop!" Coach Brickstow shouted, running toward the machine with a fire extinguisher. "The equipment cannot handle that much force." Jinho immediately stopped and stood up, looking worried. "I am sorry. I did not mean to break anything. Should I pay for the damage?" Before the coach could answer, Jinho moved to the next machine, a device designed for leg exercises. This machine was even more advanced, with multiple adjustment points for different alien body types. Jinho sat down and began what he thought was a light leg workout. The first squat movement he made caused the machine's metal frame to bend slightly. The safety systems activated immediately, shooting foam all over Jinho to protect him from the equipment failure. He stood up covered in white foam, looking like a ghost. "Sumi," A quiet alien student who had been watching everything with great interest, began taking notes on a tablet device. She was from a species known for their scientific minds, and she found Jinho fascinating rather than terrifying. "Excuse me, human Jinho," she said, approaching him carefully. "Could you tell me what your normal workout routine is like on Earth?" Jinho wiped the safety foam from his face and thought about it. "Well, at school we usually run about 2 miles to warm up. Then we do push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, and weight training. After that, we might play soccer or basketball for an hour. Nothing too serious." The students around him exchanged glances that clearly said they thought Jinho was describing some kind of torture. Coach Brickstow sat down heavily on a meditation cushion, holding his head in his hands. 2 miles. Pip squeaked from behind her exercise mat shield. "How do you not die?" "Die!" Jinho laughed. "Running is fun. It makes you feel good and helps you stay healthy." Mina stepped closer, her cat-like curiosity overcoming her fear. "Your bones, when you do these exercises, they do not break?" Jinho looked at her with genuine confusion. "Why would my bones break? Human bones are pretty strong. We need them to be strong because of gravity and all the activities we do." "Gravity," repeated Sumi, writing furiously on her tablet. "What is the gravitational force on your homeworld?" "I think it is 1G, Jinho said. "That is normal, right?" The silence that followed was broken only by the sound of more equipment alarms as the broken machines continued to smoke and spark. In the distance, they could hear the Academy's engineering team running toward the gymnasium with repair tools and emergency equipment. Coach Brickstow looked up at Jinho with something that might have been respect mixed with terror. "Human Jinho," he said slowly, "I think we need to design some special exercises just for you." The next week, Coach Brickstow decided to try team sports instead of using the broken exercise machines. He thought that maybe playing games would help Jinho learn to control his strength better. The engineering team had spent 3 days fixing all the equipment that Jinho had accidentally destroyed, and they were not happy about working overtime. "Today we will play low-gravity soccer," Coach Brickstow announced to class. "The rules are simple. Use only your feet to move the ball into the goal. No hands, no excessive force, no jumping higher than 2 feet off the ground." The soccer field was in a special section of the gym where the artificial gravity was turned down to about 1/3 of normal. For most alien students, this made them feel light and bouncy, like they were floating on air. For Jinho, it felt like he was moving underwater in slow motion. The ball was made of a soft, lightweight material that would not hurt anyone if it accidentally hit them. It was about the size of a basketball, but weighed almost nothing. The goals were wide and low, designed so that even the smallest students could score easily. "Remember," Coach Brickstow said, looking directly at Jinho, "gentle kicks only. We want everyone to have fun and stay safe." Jinho nodded eagerly. He loved soccer and had played on his school team back on Earth. He was excited to share his favorite sport with his new alien friends. What he did not realize was that his idea of a gentle kick was very different from everyone else's idea of a gentle kick. The game began with Mina passing the softball to one of her teammates. The ball moved slowly through the low gravity, floating gracefully from player to player. Everyone was moving carefully, trying not to bump into each other or kick too hard. When the ball finally came to Jinho, he smiled and gave it what he thought was the lightest tap possible with his foot. The ball immediately shot forward like it had been fired from a cannon. It moved so fast that it created a small sonic boom in the thin air of the low-gravity zone. The ball hit the goal post with such force that the entire goal structure bent backward and toppled over. The safety systems activated immediately, spraying protective foam everywhere and flashing warning lights. The ball itself had completely disappeared. Later, they found it stuck 3 inches deep into the far wall of the gymnasium. Every student on the field stopped moving and stared at Jinho in complete silence. Some of the drifters had turned completely white with shock, which was their species' way of fainting. 2 squeep students were hiding under the overturned goal, too scared to come out. "I am very sorry," Jinho called out, raising his hands to show he meant no harm. "I barely touched it. I was trying to be gentle." Coach Brickstow was frantically calling the engineering team again. "We need a new goal post, a new wall panel, and someone find our missing ball," he said into his communicator. "And maybe some stronger safety equipment." They tried playing again with a heavier ball and reinforced goals, but the same thing kept happening. Every time Jinho touched the ball, it would fly away at dangerous speeds. After the fourth goal post was destroyed, Coach Brickstow decided to try a different game. "Let us play capture the flag instead," he said hopefully. "This is a strategy game. It requires thinking, not strength." The game area was set up like a maze, with soft walls, tunnels, and hiding places. Each team had a flag that they needed to protect while trying to steal the other team's flag. It seemed perfect for someone like Jinho, who was obviously much stronger than necessary for sports. What Coach Brickstow did not understand was that humans had evolved to be very good at strategy games. On Earth, humans had been hunters for 1,000 years, which meant they were excellent at tracking, hiding, planning, and working together as a team. Jinho was placed on a team with 6 other students, including Mina and Pip. The other team had 10 students, including some of the larger, stronger aliens who thought they would have an easy victory against a team with a dangerous human. The game began, and immediately Jinho started doing things that amazed his teammates and terrified his opponents. He moved through the maze like he could see through walls, always knowing exactly where the other team was hiding. When he needed to cross open areas, he dropped to his hands and knees and crawled so quickly and quietly that he seemed to disappear. "How does he move so quietly?" whispered Zektor, a 4-legged alien who was supposed to be the fastest student in the school. "And how does he know where we are?" Jinho was using basic human skills that children learn from playing hide-and-seek. He listened for breathing sounds, watched for shadows, and noticed small changes in the air that told him when someone had passed by recently. To him, these were normal abilities that every human had. To the aliens, it looked like magic or supernatural powers. When Jinho finally reached the other team's flag, he climbed straight up a smooth wall that was supposed to be unclimbable. His fingers and toes found tiny imperfections in the surface that other species could not even see, let alone use for climbing. 3 weeks had passed since the Great Gym disasters, and something interesting was beginning to happen at Kepler Station Academy. The fear that had filled the hallways whenever Jinho walked by was slowly changing into something else. Curiosity. It started with Mina. Every day during lunch, she would sit a little closer to Jinho's table. At first, she sat 3 tables away, then 2, then finally she was brave enough to sit across from him. Her cat-like ears twitched nervously as she spoke. "Jinho," she said quietly, "can I ask you something about your world?" Jinho looked up from his Earth food ration pack, happy that someone wanted to talk to him. Most students still ran away when they saw him coming. "Of course. I love talking about Earth." "When you were a child," Mina asked, "did you really have to run from dangerous animals?" Jinho thought about this question seriously. "Well, not exactly run from them, but we learned to be careful around them. My grandfather told me stories about bears and wolves in the mountains. And when I was little, we had to be careful of dogs that might bite or bees that might sting." Mina's eyes grew wide. "Bears? Wolves? What are those?" As Jinho described the animals of Earth, more students began to gather around their table. They stayed at a safe distance, but they were listening. Pip the Squeep was brave enough to sit on a chair 2 tables away. Her huge ears pointed toward their conversation. "Bears are about 8 feet tall when they stand up," Jinho explained. "They have big claws and teeth, and they are very strong. But they usually do not bother humans unless they are protecting their babies or their food." The students exchanged shocked glances. 8 feet tall with claws and teeth, and humans lived on the same world with these creatures? But the dangerous part is not just the animals. Jinho continued. "The weather on Earth can be very extreme. We have storms with lightning that can kill you instantly and winds so strong they can destroy buildings. In winter, the temperature can drop so low that you will die if you stay outside too long." Sumi, the scientific student, had been taking notes during lunch every day. She finally worked up the courage to speak. "So humans evolved to survive all of these threats?" "I guess so," Jinho said. "We had to be fast to run from danger, strong to fight when we could not run. and smart to solve problems and work together. Over the following days, something wonderful began to happen. Instead of running away from Jinho, students started asking him questions. They wanted to know how humans could lift heavy things, how they could run so far without getting tired, and how they could think so quickly during games. Jinho was happy to help. He began showing them modified versions of human exercises that were safe for their different bodies. For the crystal students like Crixila, he taught them gentle stretching movements that helped their crystalline joints move more smoothly. For the floating drifters, he showed them breathing techniques that helped them control their movement through the air better. The secret, Jinho explained to a group of students in the gym, is to start very slowly and build up your strength little by little. On Earth, even human children start with easy exercises before they do harder ones. Coach Brixtow watched from across the gym as Jinho carefully guided Pip through a simple stretching routine. The tiny Squeep student was actually smiling, something she had never done in gym class before. "I cannot believe it," the coach said to Administrator Veltar, who had come to observe the class. "The human is actually teaching them to enjoy physical activity." "It appears," Veltar replied, "that we may have misunderstood what it means to be from a death world." The biggest change came when Jinho helped a student who got hurt during a game. Kexri, one of the crystal students, had cracked his arm while trying to copy one of Jinho's movements. Everyone expected Jinho to panic or make the injury worse with his dangerous human strength. Instead, Jinho moved very carefully and gently, supporting Kexri's injured arm while speaking to him in a calm, quiet voice. His movements were so precise and controlled that he seemed like a completely different person from the one who had destroyed exercise equipment and kicked soccer balls through walls. "You are going to be okay," Jinho said softly. "I am going to help you get to the medical center. Just lean on me and take small steps." The other students watched in amazement as Jinho, who could probably lift the entire medical center, carefully helped his injured classmate walk slowly down the hallway. His touch was gentle, his voice was kind, and his movements were perfectly controlled. That day, the students finally understood something important. Jinho was not a monster or a weapon. He was just a person who had grown up on a world that required incredible strength and skill to survive. The same abilities that made him seem dangerous also made him incredibly capable of helping and protecting others. By the end of the semester, Jinho's gym class had become the most popular elective at the academy. Students from other schools requested transfers just to meet the human, who could break machines but chose to teach gentle stretches instead. And Jinho, who had come to the station as Earth's first representative, had become something even more important: a bridge between humanity and the stars.